This video is sponsored by Delube Cola for that oily-licious thirst. I have a question for you. How would you stop all war from happening? If it was possible, how would you do it? Would you become a diplomat and travel all over the world helping raging nations come to a compromise? Would you launch a satellite and snipe all the members of known terrorist groups and dictators? Would you take over the world and rule all people with an iron fist, and any behavior you deem out of line is dealt with swiftly and painfully so it could never happen again? Well, how would you feel that in 2080, all disputes are now settled, from warring nations to basic indecision, by robots battling on the moon with water-based weapons? Well, that's the premise for what we're talking about today. Ladies and gents, Bolts and Blip. This cybernetic show was created by Toonbox Entertainment and first broadcast on Teletoon. The creative mind behind it is Andrew Knight, who is credited, to name a few, as an animation supervisor on A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, a character designer for Beauty and the Beast, The Enchanted Christmas, an animator for Pinocchio 3000, yes, that one, an animation director for Joseph, King of Dreams, and a storyboard artist for 64 episodes of the original Inspector Gadget. This show was the last thing he worked on, and sadly, due to his passing in 2008, he didn't live to see it be released to the world in 2010. So how does it fare? Let's find out. It stars, of course, Bolts and Blip, who start out as lowly civvy bots, an oil boy and scorekeeper respectively, for the Thunderbolts battle team.
Well, if we get on the Thunderbolts attack squad, I'll take it on.
Like that's gonna happen. Remember the last time we tried to make the team?
How many times have I told you? Civvybots cannot be BattleBots! Can't. It happened again, didn't it?
But due to an accidental roster transfer, they get drafted as BattleBots for the Lunar League. They make friends with the new team captain Sadie along the way, and they help battle basic indecision from Earth. Like most shows with this particular naming convention, which Mr. Enter dubbed The And Show, at least one of these characters is a pain in the back hatch to the world around them, and that person is Bolts. I will say that, while he does get gradings sometimes, he is more likable and entertaining, because the story never gives him a free pass on bad things he's done. He always gets his comeuppance, and it's never dissatisfying. They also do their best to never go too far with him, and you can still sympathize with him when the plot wants you to. Blip started out as a fanboy to Tiger Jackson, played by Patrick Warburton, of course, and was on a similar level of maturity to Bolts, but eventually grew more mature, responsible, and fit for the task thrust upon him. That task? You'll find out when you watch the show for yourself. He plays a good straight man to Bolt's antics. The animation? It's pretty good. The emotions are believable for the most part, but there are occasional flub-ups. The characters are designed well, and move as robots should. Humans in the series look fine, though we only ever see 2. The show can be inconsistent with what robots can or can't do. For instance, in the 3rd episode, Bolts comments on the smell of their new room, while Blip, in a later episode, states robots can't smell. They also, for some reason, have an oil shake bar and metal food, along with oil sodas, and at one point soft serves, despite Bolts stating in one episode that he doesn't have a stomach because he's a robot. This is also contrast with the fact that in another episode, Blip states, "When are you not hungry?" It's not too big a deal, but it's a bit of an immersion breaker for me. Last thing I'll mention is that some episodes have better story structure than others. For example, Robots Don't Dream Part 2 gets to the main bulk of the plot 7 minutes in, with extended battle scenes that go on for too long. They also have blatant filler in the form of
Thirsty, you say? Stand back! Salute Cola is back with gargantuan, monstrous, meaner taste. Just ask Lunar League hero Bloodbot number 446298.
Cannot consume product.
That's right, Dilute Cola for that oily, delicious thirst.
Requesting retake.
Yeah, there's more versions of this ad. Sometimes the ads are specific to the episode in question. For example, Mega Slash in the episode Evil Sadie. But most of the time, they're filler that does take the viewer out of the flow more often than not. Unlike with Pigeon Boy, at least until recently, I have DVDs of Bolt and Blip. In fact, I've got the whole series. So I have access to every episode released. So why only focus on one? Mainly because I want to. At first, I was going to do my favourite episode, Curse of the Vampire Box. But I decided while going over the script that I should go over an episode that is a little more relevant to the main plot. The third episode, Little Squeaker. Without further delay, let's get into this, shall we? It starts out with Steve, the assistant coach, showing Bolt and Blip their new home, since they were sleeping in a storage locker before. It's not the best place, but they make the best of it.
It may take you quite a while, yes. Some of those boxes look pretty heavy.
No problem! We can just use the bigger ones like desks and shelves. Saves us moving them.
Well, I think some of these light fixtures are permanently damaged.
Nice for ambiance. Plus, it hides the dirt.
And you are not allowed to repaint!
That's fine! Putrid yellow is my favorite shade of yellow.
They begin looking through the stuff, when Bolts finds some old arena tech, the Ion Devastator 3000. He accidentally fires it, causing some damage.
Cool. If I could mod this into a water-based gun, that would be 7 flavors of awesome! As long as it's harmless, it's cool, right? Right?
Yeah, cool.
A ball thing ricochets around the room, and it turns out to be a little chinchilla bot thing. It's adorable, so Blip decides to adopt him, and names him Squeaker. Bolts makes comment and Squeaker attacks him. Just as Sadie and some of the other team members come around to see how they're settling in. Squeaker isn't too welcoming, attacking the housewarming gift they made for them.
I swear that I've seen this model of bot before. Let me just check my memory files. Be back in a jiffy.
He stays like that while Blips takes Squeaker to introduce him to the rest of the team.
Wow, the floor in here is filthy.
When he gets to Thunderbolt's HQ, no one's there, so he tries to play ball. When Squeaker sees it, he plays ball all over the room. When Blip manages to catch him, Coach Gridiron comes in and sees the aftermath. He's not too happy, especially since there are no pets allowed in HQ. Also, Squeaker attacks Steve, then Gridiron.
Have you seen my other arm? It looks just like this one.
Then we get a little montage of Blip and Squeaker together, with predictable results. It's still kind of funny though. We then cut to Blip coming home with stuff for Squeaker, including a backup memory microchip. He says Squeaker attacked everyone and chalked it up to nervousness. Bolts, passive-aggressively, calls Squeaker a monster and gets attacked. Sadie and friends show up and try to talk to Blip about Squeaker and his behaviour. Blip defends him and storms off to play with Squeaker. Sadie comments on how Weldon knew what it was before being locked in a memory loop, so she interfaces with him to help with the search.
And now I have 2 statues in my room. Terrific.
We cut to Blip bonding with Squeaker, when the battle siren goes off. So Blip hides him behind a rock, saying he'll get him later. When Blip gets to base, he's the third to arrive, as most everyone else is absent. Bolt shows up, shows off his new weapon, but is disappointed as the battle is a croquet match, so he can't use it. The match begins, and things are going okay, until the ball gets hit near Squeaker, and he goes sphere mode. He beats up a guy, which gets Blip to recognize him and run after him. During this, Sadie finds Welder in his memory and helps him find the right file. Squeaker is apparently a bomb created by Dr. Blood that absorbs kinetic energy while in sphere mode and then explodes.
We best approach this cautiously. Give me a moment to come up with a plan of action.
The game is still going on, with Blip stopping everyone from hitting Squeaker, which eventually ends up in getting both teams disqualified for touching the wall with their hands. Sadie comes running, telling Blip what Squeaker is, as Jackson throws Squeaker in the air. The time of detonation is near. Blip gets the idea to use Bolt's new weapon to save everyone.
Squeaker, I'm sorry.
No, everything's fine. Okay, I'll come to you.
Oh no! I didn't think this would be the try not to cry challenge. Oh, help!
Please don't bite.
A week later, Blip is still grieving over his beloved pet blowing up. His team comes in with a gift, a harmless rebuilt Squeaker and his microchip. Then Bolts gets attacked, Blip promising to train Squeaker to be a bit more sociable. And then we find out there's like a bajillion more. And that's the episode. For what it is, this episode is really good. The jokes land okay, though I know that is dependent on taste. Squeaker has a heck adorable design, and I can fully believe that he and Blip have a real connection, which makes the climax of the episode more sorrowful and the ending more meaningful. It's a good episode of a good show, and I'd gladly watch it again. If you feel like checking the series out, not only do I recommend this episode, but I also recommend Curse of the Vampire Bots, Quest for the Goblin Crown Part 3, a funny as heck Lord of the Rings parody, along with both parts of Robots Don't Dream. Speaking of Goblin Crown, there's a little sequel to Little Squeaker. In only one scene, but still. But it's still nice to see Squeaker didn't just go poof. Hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time.